This presentation in the SQL Fundamentals series looks at using the where clause in a select statement. You'll need to log on to the MEC site and open up SQL Server Management Studio if you want to follow along with the examples presented here. We've already had examples of using select from. Now we're going to add the where clause, which will allow you to filter output based on a criterion. So the syntax would be to add a where clause where you put a particular column name and use some operator. In this case we're using the equals, but of course you could use other evaluations, not equal, greater than or equal to, and you're going to compare that against some criterion. We'll start by looking at the student team database. We'll open up a query pane and we will find out which students are on the systems designers team, which is the team ID is sysdes. So what I've done is already copied in the code into SQL Server Management Studio. So we see the query here. It's select, showing the team ID, first name, last name of the student, from the students table, where the foreign key field student or std underscore team ID equals, and then in quotes, because it's alphanumeric, you put sysdes. And I ran the query and the output is what you see here. We have 3 people, Bob Smith, Carlos Alvarez, and Don Oliver, that are on that team. So you add the where clause, you put a column name, you put an operator, and then you put some type of criterion that you want to compare. And then you get the output. So let's look at another team. Find the students that are on the Digital Solutions team, and the abbreviation or team ID for that is DIGSOL. So when I come back to the SQL Server Management Studio and I open up that query and I run that query, I get no output. I have no output, so I might look at this and wonder if I have a typo. Maybe I've typed in something wrong for the criterion. If I got something like a column name wrong, I would have gotten an error message. So you wonder whether or not this is correct. Well, one way to test it in this small database would be to show all the students. So I can now select this command if I want it only to execute. And then I could scroll down and take a look at the team IDs and look for any DIGSOL, and I don't see any. So what this illustrates is that sometimes you don't get output, and that is correct. But you do need to do some double checking to make sure that that's valid output. In this case, because the data table is small, one way we can do it is just to do a visual check by looking at all the data and seeing that in fact no students are on that team. So let's run another query. In this example, we'll find out which students are not in the information system or ISIS major. So in this query we're going to look at not equal. So I open that query and I run this query. I'm doing select the same information from the students table, but now my condition is not equal to ISIS, and I execute that query and then I get my output. So I show 13 students are not in that major. Let's query the AdventureWorks database, and here we have an example where we can do the count function and also use a criterion in the where clause. So we're going to count how many design engineers there are employed at AdventureWorks. So I run this query and I find that I have 3. Now let's find out which departments are in the quality assurance group. Again, remember that when we're working with this data, we have to use a fully qualified table name. So I run that and I find out there are two departments, document control and quality assurance. So in this lesson, we've added the where clause to the select statement, which allows us to filter output. We've seen an example where no output is the correct output, but we should do some checking to make sure that that is the valid output. We've used a combination of the where clause with the count function, so we could do a count not of every record in a table, but of only certain records that meet a certain criterion.